Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Clock Titan from Monster Up replaced the Clock Titan in the Skibidi Multiverse? How would this change affect the other Alliance Titans, now that their daddy is no longer around? And in general, how would it change the entire story? So, due to the power level of this Titan, right from the first time we saw the Clock Titan, he'll basically bully all the toilets and mutants, just like we saw with the base clock. But something happened. The Camera Titan got infected, and the scientists decided to use him against the Alliance to take down the Clock Titan. But this time, he'll be faced with the Monster Up clock. Well, for this battle, we should consider one thing. The Clock Titan only fell victim based on his low energy reserves due to continuous fighting. Although it'll have an impact on him, the Monster Up clock would be able to hold on better, as we saw how he handled even bigger threats in the series. So, he'll bully the infected camera, and basically, the scientist would order them to retreat, as it's not worth it. Now that the Clock Titan is not defeated, the Alliance would focus more on clearing bases of mutants. They'll still go to the drills for help, as they'll need more manpower. So, with the proper investigation, they'll get the information about where the infected camera is hanging out with his bad friends. They'll begin the rescue mission, and when they get to the base, since they're all focused on the Camera Titan, it won't take long. As they drive all the toilets running out of the base, with the Clock Titan, they're able to immobilize him with enough time to get the parasite out of him. With this, they have successfully taken back their friend. Now, with that guilt, the camera goes on to bully toilets and mutants around various Skibidi bases. The Clock Titan's presence would ensure that the casualty rate is pretty low, even at the base where the Drill Titan was captured in the original story. That would not be the case, as the mission would be carried out by the full fleet of Titans, so they don't stand a chance. By now, most of the Titans would have taken damage and would have gone for upgrades, as even the toilets are getting stronger. They need to be able to fight for longer periods. The scientist realizes this and decides to go on the full attack by inviting his friend, the Pennywise. The battle at the base rages on, with the agents holding on, waiting for the Titans to help them out until they eventually arrive. But they are ambushed by the scientist and Penny. This time though, it's different, because the Monster Up Clock Titan is present. With his ability to predict future moves, which I think is very cool, he'll always be one step ahead in the battle, which means instant bullying. But they get the message that the clock base is under attack, so the camera would tell him to go. They'll handle it. So he leaves the battle to them. Now, at the base, the Skibidis are just outside and are planning to implant the bomb on the clock base. Based on the fact the Clock Titan saw the message earlier and moved, he'll be able to catch them in the act, and they'll get their own share as he totally destroys the toilets. But the SCPs come in, and they fire shells at him, but he casually walks right through. And yeah, you know what time it is. They sure are getting their cheeks clapped. Now that they have taken back the clock base, they radio in to the rest of the Titans to see how the battle went. They are fine, but pretty much damaged, barely escaping the kamikaze rain of mutants. The scientist feels defeated and humiliated, so he goes back to base. But he meets Alpha. This time, they have to work together. The scientist did a quick analysis on the Clock Titan in his battle. He figured he had 2 tanks containing a liquid. He thinks this is his energy reserve, and they get drained easily based on how he uses his powers. So, they have an evil plan. By now, the upgrades of the Drill Titan would have been ready, so my boy would be built like a tank, smashing through toilets. And the rest of the Titans are pretty much in good shape, but we have not yet still seen or heard from the TV. Maybe he went to get some milk and never came back? However, disaster strikes as Alpha invades and attacks the clock base. This time, there's no need to manipulate the drills, as based on the analysis of the scientist, her secret weapon would be able to take all the Titans down. So, it's a win for them, but we'll see about that. After much fighting and brief yapping, the Titans finally arrive at the base. Yeah, she got their attention, and she goes on to summon the Counter Titan. The entire Alliance is shocked at what this creature would do. So, the Titans go into a full-on brawl with the Counter Titan. Despite the fact he's outnumbered, the Counter Titan still stood his ground, copying their weapons and using them against them. Soon, all the Titans got injured. But Alpha has a problem. Where is the so-called Clock Titan that has been terrorizing the scientist? This is when they realize the Alliance has a trick up their sleeves. As the Counter batters the Titans down and is about to finish them off, a large Clockman sword sweeps him off his feet, throwing him to the other side of the battlefield. Lo and behold, the upgraded Monster Up Clock Titan shows up. You see, the future Clockman had warned that a lady would attack the clock base with a killer of titans, as he called it. So this made the boss quite worried, and they had to do something to the Monster Up clock, exchanging his energy cylinders for a new improved core, amping up his energy reserves and giving him a powerful sword to, exert his authority. All thanks to the clock scientist. Now the tables have turned. Although this clock titan is not a show-off like my daddy clock, he'll fight with the counter, predicting his moves and countering them efficiently. Talk about countering the counter titan. Sounds good, right? So, with this combo of power-ups, he's able to defeat the counter titan, tearing him into shreds. Alpha, who can't seem to believe what she's seeing, tries to escape but is caught and justice is served. Sounds like a happy ending, right? Wrong. The news about the G-Man apocalypse would be flying around, and this would get the boss worried again. They have to do something about it. So they get repairs and move on to the Skibidi base. However, the Skibidis know how strong this clock titan is, as he basically combined the powers of my daddy clock with that of the Monster Ups, making him even stronger. So they'll have to deal with that. They are met with 3 mutants, which instantly get bullied. Well, it's just getting started, as the ground opens up and missiles start flying out. How do the Titans stop this from happening? Well, the Clock Titan has some tricks up his sleeves. He's able to stop time and map the entire move in the future, playing out the scenario so he knows where to attack. He uses his sword with precise accuracy. He takes down a handful of the missiles, while the other Titans blast the rest out of the sky. Their plan to immobilize the Clock Titan has failed, so they have to improvise. They sound the alarm, and this time, they throw all they have at the Titans. Hearing this news, the Pencils, who have not shown their faces in ages, would step in to help too. So yeah, you can only imagine what that battle would look like, with threats such as 0-1, the Commander, and the rest. Yeah, it won't be easy, but this is the only thing the Skibidis can do to hold them off long enough for the G-Man apocalypse to unleash. But they thought wrong. Inside the base, the Alliance sends in the agents to infiltrate and stop G-Man from unleashing. But as you've probably guessed, it'll be heavily guarded, so they'll need all the help they can get. Even the future Clockman joins in what seems like a final battle with chaos everywhere. But ultimately, the Alliance is able to stop G-Man from unleashing, based on the fact they were smart enough to infiltrate the base with agents. The Skibidis would see they have lost the battle, so the scientist decides to self-destruct the base, along with the Titans and agents. So he escapes alongside Jimmy. Unknown to the Titans, the entire base is just a nuke waiting to explode. Just as they celebrate their wins, the Clock Titan gets flashbacks of the tower getting destroyed, so he decides to go check it out. Just as he moves out of the battlefield and has covered much distance, he's suddenly attacked by the Counter Titan. But just as he's about to start fighting, the Pencil Woman comes in and tells him to leave it to her. They are all deliberating about it when there's a massive explosion at the base, totally obliterating the Titans and the agents. The Pencil Woman is horrified, telling him to go and leave the counter for her to handle. The Clock Titan moves on to the base only to find pieces of his friends. It was all a trap. The scientist has outsmarted them, but he had to do something. So he uses the maximum level of his time abilities, unlike anyone has ever seen. With his core melting and risking his life, he's able to turn time backwards for the Titans, restoring them. Then, just as his core is about to melt, he does the same for himself, restoring his health. Crazy, right? Yeah, that's what you get as the daddy of the multiverse. But something is wrong. There's a sense telling him something is off somewhere. Yeah, it was right, because the Sinister shows up moments later. Damn. Can all the Titans be able to defeat the Sinister in an all-out brawl? Write down your thoughts in the comments. I guess they're all still cooked when the aliens come in, right? However, check out this video to find out what would happen if the Skibidi Multiverse Titans switched abilities. Unique Clockman out.